here's a sneak peek of the dress that we're making today.
Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Fumi and I'm Fumi the Dressmaker. If this is your first time seeing my face, if this is your first time on this channel, I'd like to say a very special thank you and kindly subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and drop a comment and let me know what you think. So basically today we're going to be doing a tutorial for this A-line dress. My favorite thing about this dress is the sleeves. The sleeves basically, but like you can also use this tutorial if you just like to do like a simple A-line dress or whatever style that you are going for. But basically I'm going to show you my process, how I do this dress from start to finish. I'm also going to show you how you can achieve this dress using the dress pattern that we drafted in our dress pattern video, which I have linked in the description box. So if you have the dress pattern and you like to do an A-line dress, I'll show you how you can do that. And then we're also going to do it like without the dress pattern, so don't worry about it if you don't want to use a pattern or if you don't have a pattern. Yeah, so this is very beginner friendly, and most of the work is in the sleeves basically. So yeah, okay, so I will see you at the end of the video.
So as usual, we're starting off with everything that we need for this project, so you can pause or take a screenshot. And first off, if you're using a dress pattern, you fold over your fabric and just place your pattern on the fold right here. So make sure that the fold is lined up with that end of your pattern. You lay it flat and make sure that everything is in place. And then at this area here where you have like the end of the armhole, you measure your hip divided by 4 and then plus an inch or maybe an inch and a half for sewing allowance. That's the measurement that you take at that point, and then you mark it, and then you come to the base of the dress or wherever you want to the length of your dress to stop, and then you take that measurement that we put here and then you add 6 inches to give it that A-line shape. Now if you want like something more flowy, like something really loose, you can add more than 6 inches, but the average you should add is about 6 inches. And then the rest of it, the neck, the armhole and all of that still remains the same. You just connect that point at the hem to the point at the armhole and you have your dress basically. And then of course for the back, you open up your zipper allowance and you just do the exact same thing that you did on the front. Now of course, without using a pattern, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was out of frame here, but I'm going to explain everything I'm doing. So right now I'm just snipping off that white edge, the border that you usually see on the end of the Ankara fabric, and then I'm taking the measurement of my shoulder. Like my shoulder is 14 inches, so I'm dividing that by 2 and then I'm marking that. I'm also marking the width of my neck, which is, I usually use 4 inches as the average width, and then depth as well, 4 inches. So also I'm coming down at the shoulder by an inch for that to get that shoulder slope. If you have watched you can make reference to the dress pattern video in case you are a bit confused. And so I'm just marking up all the points, the shoulder and all of that, and then my armhole is 8 inches, and so I've marked that. And on that 8 inches, on that point where you have 8 inches, that is where you mark your hip divided by 4 plus sewing allowance. So that's what I'm marking right now, my hip measurement divided by 4 and then adding my sewing allowance to that. And now I'm just taking the measurement of the length. My dress length is 40 inches, so I'm going to mark 41 because sewing allowance. So I'm just marking dress length at different points so that I can have a straight line. And then now I'm connecting my points. So now we take the measurements from this point here, that's our hip divided by 4 plus sewing allowance, and then we use that measurement on the hem. But remember, we're adding 6 inches because this is an A-line gown, so to get that like shape you add 6 inches. If you want more volume, you can add more than 6 inches, but I would advise no less than 6 inches. And then at that corner I went up by an inch because I want to give my hem this a bit of a curved look. So if you'd like yours to just stay straight, then there's no need for this, but I went up by an inch and then I just connected my curved line, and that's basically it. So now I'm connecting the armhole to the hem of the dress just with a straight line. If you have a ruler, you can use that. And then now we're done, and I'm just going to cut. You can see how my hem is just a bit curved, just slightly curved. And then now for the back, all we're going to do is add our zipper allowance, and of course the neckline would be higher than what we have in front. That's basically the difference between the front and back pieces, and this is what they look like. So I'm just cutting to open up my zipper allowance because you need that area to be open for you to attach your zip. And these are the two pieces, front here and the other one is the back. Now our lining, I folded my lining over and I placed my piece on top of it. This is the back piece, so I'm just going to cut around it, kind of use the fabric as a pattern, and I'm just going to cut exactly the same thing. But at the hem, I made the lining about 6 inches shorter than the dress itself. So I'm just going to cut around it right now. As you can see, I'm just following the piece I've already cut for the back, and this is what it looks like. So you can see that our lining is shorter than the Ankara fabric. Next up, I'm doing the exact same thing for our front piece, 6 inches shorter. You can make yours a bit shorter or a bit longer, but this is what they both look like right now after cutting the lining for both of them, front and back pieces. This is the front, this is the back. So now to sew our dress, the body of the dress, I've laid down the lining on the front of the fabric. So you can see this is the front of my fabric, and I placed my lining on the front, and I'm just going to sew along the neckline to join them together. I'm going to do that on both the front and the two back pieces as well. And then after doing that, I'll proceed to join the shoulders and then join the sides of the dress. But before we finish joining the dress, let's get straight into our sleeves. So here's my soft net that I'm using. I chose black because I think this works best with the colors of my fabric. And here's our fabric. Here's what we have left over from 3 yards. I'm using newspapers, old newspapers for my pattern because recycling. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So I've laid out my newspaper, straightened it out, and I'm just going to start out first of all by measuring the length. The length of my sleeve would be 24, and I just have just about 23 inches here, but I'm going to use it like this anyway. I'll just keep in mind that when I'm cutting on my fabric, I'm going to have to add some more length to it. Now for the armhole, you need to draw like a weird sort of a weird shaped S. I don't know how to explain this. This is basically how I start off my sleeves. I would draw like this disproportionate looking S shape. This is the part of the sleeve that is connected to the armhole of the dress. So as you can see, I'm just going in with my free hand, and I'm trying to make it as clear to the camera as possible. And so you can see, let me bring it closer to the camera. So this is the shape that I have. So that's it right there. And then next up, with my measuring tape, I'm going to measure it because my armhole is 10 inches, so that means I would need 11 inches. After measuring it, I saw that I had just 10 inches, so I extended it just by an inch so that I can have 11 inches. The extra inches for sewing allowance, because you can't have this be the exact same length as your armhole. So I'm just marking that point where my 11 stops. And now for the sleeve, it has sort of also like an A-line sort of shape to it, so it's not just going to be straight. So I'm measuring what I have at this point, and which is about 10 inches, and then I'm taking that, and at the base of the sleeve I'm going to add 4 inches to the 10 inches, so that makes 14. So that means the base or hem of my sleeve is 14 inches. You can add more if you want yours to be much wider, but I think 14 is just fine for me. And then now I'm going to connect these 2 points. If you have a ruler, you can use that. So I'm just connecting my points, trying to make my line as straight as possible. And so now we have that slanted sort of look, so it's wider at the base. And so I'm just cutting out my sleeve, and this is what it looks like. So moving on, the panels are like the major part of this sleeve, in fact the whole dress. So we have 3 soft net panels right here, as you can see in the picture, and then we have 4 Ankara panels. So the first layer and the hem, they are the Ankara panels, and we have 2 others in the middle with the Ankara fabric, and then we have the other 3 in between that are the soft net, making 7 panels altogether. Now we need to divide this sleeve pattern, and first of all I'm marking 6 inches from the top, and then marking the distance between that point from the hem, because I need to mark it from the hem because this line up here isn't straight. So it's about 17 inches from the hem, so I'm just marking that just to get that straight line. And so I'm just connecting my points right now. So this line is 6 inches from the top of the sleeves, so I'm just marking it, drawing my straight line to connect all of my points. So that part is going to be Ankara, so I'm using a marker so you can see clearly. And then 4 inches from that point, I'm also marking that this is the next panel, and this is going to be soft net. We're going to use the net for this panel. And then next up again, 3 inches from that. So basically, apart from the first panel up there, the rest of the panels, our Ankara panels, are going to be 3 inches, and then the net panels are 4 inches. So I'm just marking that. And then now I'm using my marker to connect my points. So you can see that the Ankara panels are a bit smaller than the net panels, because I noticed that from the original picture. You can do yours as you would like, but I'm trying to make mine as similar to the original picture as possible. Just sketch it out on your pattern and see how it looks, and if you like it, you're good to go. And the last panel is a bit smaller because remember, we're going to add a few more inches. Now I'm shading these panels, these 4 panels, because those are the ones that are going to be the Ankara panels, and I just want to make a distinction between them. And then after after that, I'm also going to number each of the panels, because by the time we cut the pattern, I don't want there to be any mix-ups. So it's advisable you also number your patterns as well, your pattern pieces, so that you know which one comes first, second, third, and so on. So as you can see, I have my 7 panels here and ready to cut out. So I'm just going to cut them out right now. So these ones that I'm pulling out are the ones that we're going to cut out in our Ankara fabric, and the other 3, they are going to be cut out in our soft net fabric. Now I've folded over my net, and this is the first net panel. So as you can see, this area right here is folded, and I'm just going to place my pattern on it. This straight line, this straight part of the pattern is supposed to lay on the fold. So I'm just placing my pattern carefully, and on this upper area here and lower area, I'm going to leave ½ an inch of sewing allowance, so that we can that ½ an inch is for you to be able to join all of your pieces together. So leaving those ½ inch allowances on both sides, I'm cutting out my piece, and this is what we have: an allowance here, but not on this end or on the other end either. So this is what you should have. And we need 2 pieces of each of these patterns, because you have 2 sleeves. So I've done that here. I have 2 pieces, and for that last panel, this is how I'm cutting it. You can see my ½ inch allowance up here, and then you can see that I have some excess below, and in total I have 7 inches, because this part is going to be folded over. I'm going to fold it over like this, so it gives it sort of a really neat finish. Actually, I did this dress for my sister as well, and I really liked how it looked when I did this for the sleeve. This is what my sister's dress looks like. This is how the edge of the sleeve looks, really neat and well finished. So I'm just going to replicate that with my sleeve as well. So we can see here all of our pieces are ready. We have 2 pieces of each pattern piece, because we have 2 sleeves. Don't forget that, please. So you can see our Ankara pieces, our net pieces, everything is ready to start sewing. I'm so excited. I can't wait. And then you can see our sewing allowance as well. So back to the dress. After joining the neck, I cut these little snips all around the neck, so that when we turn it the right side out, we'll have a smooth curve. This is important whenever you're sewing a curved line, especially with lining. So as you can see here, I also did that on the back of the neck as well. And here we have our dress. I've joined the shoulders and sides as well, and this is what it looks like. You can already see it starting to take shape. So I'm going to fix our zip next. Just going to fix the zip and most likely hem it next. But this is what we have so far, and it's looking good. It's so simple and straightforward. That's one amazing thing about A-line dresses. No complications, no darts. It's just easy. So this is the zip. I'm using plain black zipper, and I'm just going to attach it. Let me know if you'd like a tutorial for attaching a zipper before we move to the sleeve. But let's finish the dress. Let's put our zip and do the hemming. Beautiful, beautiful fabric. I love this fabric, by the way. So we have our hem all done. The zipper is attached. The sides, the shoulders, all attached. Now we need to get to our sleeves. That's where most of the work actually is for this dress, the sleeves. This this will take a while, joining all of these panels and everything, 2 pieces of each pattern piece. You can see. So now to sewing our sleeves. So I'm removing the pattern piece of our first and second layer. You want to make sure you keep the pattern pieces pinned to your fabric because you don't want any mix-ups at all. So I'm starting with pattern piece 1 and 2. So I'm taking 1 piece of each to my sewing machine, and I have laid my net over the front side of the fabric. This is the front of the fabric, so over the front of the fabric, and I'm just going to join by 1/2 inch because we have 1/2 inch sewing allowance. So I'm just going to join them together, and after over an hour of joining fabric, this is what I have. The sleeves are almost done, both of them. I just need to attach that last layer, this layer right here. So I've pressed it, and you can see it's nice and flat, so it's going to be a lot easier to sew. So I folded it over and pressed it. And this is what it looks like. So I'm just going to start from that point right there to join, and this is what it's going to look like when I'm done. And of course, after joining that last piece, I'm going to close up the sleeves and then attach the sleeves to my dress, and we're going to be done. That's really it. The major work here was actually the cutting of these sleeves, but like, that's it, and we have our dress. Oh my goodness, I love this dress.
Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I was clear enough. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to let me know in the comment section. If you have any tutorials that you'd like to request that I do, then you can also send that to me on Instagram. The link to my Instagram in the description box. Thank you so much, and have an amazing week.